Literally delayed by Obama to protect Democrats in the 2014 election. However, it's not working out that way. Employers are already finding out that their policies are changing or being canceled. It's the beginning of a huge wave, a tsunami of changes. Some 100 million Americans will be affected, all because of Obamacare. And in Northern California, one organization is finding out that it's cheaper to pay the Obamacare penalty than pay for a new, improved premium.
90 employees of California Vocations, a state-funded nonprofit that supports adults with developmental disabilities, learned that their insurance with Blue Shield will be terminated at the end of the year.
It's been frustrating for our organization and for the employees.
Bob Irvine is the executive director of California Vocations. He says the organization's board of directors canceled its policies because the new Obamacare regulations force it to purchase more expensive policies, albeit with better coverage, that it simply cannot afford.
That would have been another $250,000.
Instead, it's cheaper to pay a $100,000 per year fine for not providing health care insurance to their employees.
So now it looks like those workers are going to have to fend for themselves. No more employer health care. And that's just one of millions of examples nationwide. How bad is it going to be? Joining me now, private medicine advocate Patricia Newman. It's going to get very bad out there, Patty. I mean, we're talking numbers, we're hearing anywhere from 50 million to 100 million of another shoe to drop here with Obamacare.
That's right. You know, people forget that small employers, meaning those that have 50 employees or less, are not supposed to be bound by the rules of Obamacare, meaning they don't have to offer a policy. However, most of them do.
Right.
So they are affected by the mandates. The policies that they currently offer their employees do not meet those minimum coverage benefits, and so they're going to be seeing their premium prices go up.
This is the great missing element in the argument here. Even these companies that are trying to get below that 50 employee threshold,
right,
their policies are probably going to change as well.
They are. Now, some of us that took advantage of a loophole that is in the law that allows employers or allowed them to change their open enrollment to as late as possible in 2013, meaning instead of having to wait for their normal open enrollment period, they could move it ahead to before the year ends. Most of us, of course, did it so that our effective date would be December 1st. Therefore, we have a whole year of not having to pay mandates. But the insurance companies are supposed to publish their new premiums come October of next year. Well, scratch that. They just moved it to November of next year, right after the elections.
Right.
They don't have to abide by that, and they're not likely to, because by HIPAA law, they're supposed to tell all of the employers what their new coverage is going to cost them. So that is likely to happen in October of 2014, and that's when a lot of small employers are going to find out that their policies are no good, and they're going to be getting cancellation letters for all of their members.
Right, so these loopholes, so-called, are really only temporary loopholes, and so everything kind of closes in on everyone. So what are my options if I'm at this company, this nonprofit up in Northern California, or some company, small company, that you find out that, hey, these healthcare plans don't meet the minimum requirements, and these companies say, hey, I just can't afford $250,000. What are the options then?
There's not a whole lot of options. I mean, you could be, you know, what everybody thinks of an employer, evil employer, and just not offer that benefit. But you could also have a compliant policy, and that will make you pay a higher premium, which you may be willing to do. If you can afford it, I'm sure most employers will. But if they can't afford it, then we're going to see a whole new wave of people getting their hours cut to part-time, because most small businesses offer benefits only to full-time employees. So you're going to see another wave of employees finding themselves as part-time employees, You may be able to downgrade, for example, from a PPO to an HMO. They're both compliant. Just one has a much limited network and therefore costs less money. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do.
So in the universe of people who have their health care plans through their employers, and that's a large chunk of America, is this going to be happening drip, 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 just like we're seeing individual cancellation policies and changes to policies? We're going to be seeing this now through basically 2015?
I think we will. Now, when you say this drip, 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 it is a smaller percentage of policies that are not going to meet the requirements if you put them against the individual plans that did not meet the requirements. However, group insurance policies are the bulk of the business of the large insurers. And what's going to happen is the majority of the good employers that were trying to push this as far back as possible are going to see it happening in October of 2014, but that starts January. The rest of the drip, drip, you're going to see it throughout the year, and then you're going to see a huge amount of them come October of next year.
See, I think this is a big strategic blunder from Obama and the Democrats, that they didn't realize this was going to, they thought that by pushing it later in 2014, it was going to avoid the 2014 election. But this just shows how ridiculous they are, and people who are not in the private sector, thinking that businesses don't make decisions a year or maybe two out, and certainly insurance companies do as they're writing their policies, and businesses do as well. So this is going to hammer them right into 2014.
That's right. I mean, when we were watching that video, the first thing that came to mind is this company could have waited a year, but they are state-sponsored. They have no profit in mind. In fact, they're a nonprofit, so they didn't think of doing this a year in advance. Most companies, though, don't think that way. They are really looking for every dime. I just think this is a really big mistake. It's a great mistake that we can all take advantage of.
Well, repeal the law now. I say, why wait? That's for sure. Patty, thanks for all that.
Thank you.
Coming up next, the fundraiser in chief as the Daily Ledger continues. Stand by.